We shall now move on to the next topic, general motion in kinematics of rigid bodies. Now, in the last class, we had said that there are three types of motion associated with rigid bodies. Okay? Three types of motion. First one is translation motion. Second one is rotational motion. And the third one is the general motion, which includes both translation as well as rotation. Okay. Now, a classical example of a general motion, a body that, say for example, we'll take in a single plane, okay, is a rolling wheel. Okay. So here, if you look at this rolling wheel that is shown in this figure, all the points in the rigid body undergoes both translation as well as rotation. Now let us take 2 points here, for example A1 here and B1 here. So as the corresponding wheel undergoes both translation and rotation, the final position is marked by A2 as well as B2. Now this general motion, here the example is a plane motion. This general plane motion consists of first an translation in which both the points A1 as well as B1 is undergoing a direct translation as well as rotation. So here the translation both A as well as B1 has translated by value, and then the corresponding rotational aspect comes into picture with respect to this point A2. So the plane motion here is a sum of the translation with respect to point A and then a rotation about with respect to point A. So this is an example of a general motion. The next concept we would like to see in the case of general motion is the concept of instantaneous center. Instantaneous center. Now for a body that is undergoing a general motion, it can be shown that there exists a point or an axis. There exists a point or an axis when the entire motion of the rigid body is considered to be in pure rotation at an instant of time. Okay, if you consider the motion of the body at an instant of time, the corresponding body purely rotating with respect to a single axis or a point, that corresponding axis or a point is called instantaneous center or axis, or sometimes it is called as the instantaneous center of zero velocity. The instantaneous center of zero velocity. You must have already studied a basic idea of what an instantaneous center is in your 11th or 12th class. So as such, in order to explain the concept of the instantaneous center, I will first consider, okay, a plane motion. Okay, in order to get the idea much more easily, I just first consider a plane motion. Now here in this figure, you see I have a rigid body. Okay, I have a rigid body. Let's look at this figure on the right hand side. I have a rigid body that is undergoing both translation as well as rotation. Now the corresponding velocities of 2 points A and B, 2 points A and B are indicated by VA and VB here. Okay, the corresponding velocities of point A and B are indicated by VA and VB here. Now how do you locate the instantaneous center? If we draw a line that is perpendicular to the velocity vector at points A and B at an instant of time, I am telling at an instant of time, that is very important. Okay, at an instant of time, the corresponding velocity vector VA is in this direction and the velocity vector VB is in this direction. Now if you draw perpendiculars to both VA and VB, these corresponding perpendiculars will meet at a point. Okay, that corresponding point is the instantaneous center. That means at an instant of time, this corresponding rigid body that is undergoing both rotation and translation is said to have pure rotation with respect to the instantaneous center at an instant of time. So here the velocity of the instantaneous center at that particular instant of time is 0. Now remember one thing, the instantaneous center is not a corresponding center that is what you call at rest. Okay, depending upon how the corresponding rigid body is undergoing both translation and rotation, the instantaneous center will describe a path. Okay, now this I am talking, remember one thing, I am talking of only general plane motion. Okay, not three-dimensional motion but general plane motion. So as such, the path described, if you consider the locus of the points of the instantaneous center throughout a period of time, this corresponding path is called the centroid. This corresponding path is called the centroid. Okay, I hope you understand. Now this, remember one thing, I had drawn here an angular velocity omega. Okay, this angular velocity omega is for an instant. Okay, for an instant means the entire body is said to be undergoing an instantaneous angular velocity omega with respect to the instantaneous center IC. Okay, now this in plane motion, the instantaneous center is actually a point that exists in the same plane as of the motion. Okay, the corresponding instantaneous center is a point that exists in the same plane as that of motion. Now if I take an axis that is perpendicular, to the plane of motion, we call that axis as the instantaneous axis. Okay, instantaneous axis. This is in case of a general plane motion. I am talking of the word plane motion. Okay, now if we come to three-dimensional motion, okay, if we come to three-dimensional motion, there exists an axis called the instantaneous axis. It's not a point but an axis. Okay, there exists an axis called the instantaneous axis where the velocity of the particles is momentarily 0. Okay, so as such, in a three-dimensional body, as such, at an instant of time, there exists an axis, okay, in which the velocity is 0 for an instant of time. For an instant of time, that axis is called the instantaneous axis. To have a better understanding, I will show you a figure here, a three-dimensional figure. Now you see there is a wheel that is rolling here. Okay, the corresponding angular velocity of the rolling wheel is given as omega 1. Okay, omega 1. Now this, assume this corresponding wheel is rolling without slipping in a circular path. Okay, now the horizontal axle of this wheel is attached to a collar. Okay, that is in turn is moving with respect to a vertical shaft here. Now as this corresponding wheel rotates with an angular velocity omega 1, okay, the entire collar here will in turn be undergoing an angular velocity omega 2. Okay, an angular velocity omega 2 here. So the corresponding direction of angular velocity omega 1 will be shown like this, perpendicular. If you look at the right hand thumb rule, if it is rotating in this direction, okay, the corresponding angular velocity vector will be in this direction. Similarly, this entire shaft itself is undergoing motion due to this rotation of the wheel. So as such, this will have an angular velocity omega 2. Since this is also in anti-clockwise direction, the direction of angular velocity will be in upward direction along the z-axis. Now, you see omega 2 here is constant, that is upwards in the vertical direction. But omega 1 will keep on changing. Okay, this is omega 1 at instant of time, then it will become like this, then it will become like this, then it will become like this, etc. So the instantaneous value of angular velocity omega, okay, the instantaneous value of angular velocity omega, I'll write it here itself. Omega instantaneous is omega 1 plus omega 2. The instantaneous angular velocity is given omega, that is shown here at this instant, okay, and along this plane at this instant, this corresponding omega is the sum of omega 1 plus omega 2. Now, visualizing the instantaneous axis may be a bit difficult for some people since the entire body is in 3 dimension. Let me say it like this way. As the wheel moves, okay, the corresponding instantaneous axis, this corresponding axis, okay, this corresponding axis is shown here in this figure. Okay, the same thing is shown in a different figure. This is actually a figure from Andrew Pytel. Now, the same thing is shown here. So this corresponding axis, okay, at this instant of time, the entire system is undergoing pure rotation with respect to this axis. This omega 2 plus omega 1, this is the corresponding omega, angular velocity omega, and the axis along this corresponding vector omega, that will be the instantaneous axis or instant axis of rotation. Okay. Now, to have a better understanding, it is better if you apply another idea for explaining the instantaneous axis. The instantaneous axis here, this corresponding instantaneous axis will trace a cone, with respect to the z-axis. This surface that is generated is called the space cone. Now, if the change in the direction of this axis is viewed with respect to the rotating body, then the locus of the axis, the locus of this instantaneous axis will generate a surface or a cone. This corresponding cone is called the body cone. Now, in other words, at an instant of time, both the cones meet along the instantaneous axis of rotation. It is as if the body cone rolls over the space cone. Now, since at an instant the body is undergoing pure rotation with respect to the instantaneous axis, the velocity of all the points along the instantaneous axis is 0. Let me show you the cones much more better way. See, you can see the instantaneous axis like this. Okay, as the corresponding body undergoes pure rotation with respect to this instantaneous axis, the path traced is called the space cone. If you view this instantaneous axis within the corresponding rotating body here, you can see the locus of all the points on the instantaneous axis will generate the cone called the body cone. So this is the concept of the body cone and the space cone is a very convenient tool for visualizing the general motion of a rigid body. Now, the instantaneous angular velocity of the rigid body is actually a vector which lies along the common point of intersection between the two cones. Now, if you see this figure, you see the corresponding cones are right circular cones. But for a general motion, the rotations are not always perpendicular. Okay, and hence the space cone and the body cones need not always be right circular cones as shown in this figure. Now let us come to angular acceleration. Now we had studied that for a corresponding rigid body that undergoes pure rotation with respect to an axis, okay, you have the angular velocity omega in this direction as well as the angular acceleration alpha in the same direction. In this case, in a case of pure rotation, the angular acceleration alpha represents only the change in magnitude. In pure rotation, the corresponding alpha, the angular acceleration, only represents the change in magnitude. But in a general motion, alpha represents both the change in magnitude as well as direction. The change in magnitude as well as direction. Let me make this clear. Now, in a general motion, omega as such represents the instantaneous angular velocity. The instantaneous angular velocity. Now, this corresponding value can either be a constant or it can vary. Constant in the sense, the constant in magnitude, or it can vary. It changes both in magnitude in direction. Now, if the angular velocity of the instantaneous axis has constant magnitude, okay, then the angular acceleration alpha will be normal to omega. The value of angular acceleration will be normal to omega. I'll show you a figure here. You see, you have the two space cones, the body cone as well as the corresponding space cone. The intersection of these two represents the instantaneous axis. The angular velocity vector as such is shown here. Now, the corresponding angular acceleration alpha will be normal to the instantaneous angular velocity omega here, or alpha equals omega dot. Now, in case the corresponding value of angular velocity of the instantaneous axis is not constant, then it can be considered as if the corresponding angular velocity vector omega itself rotates around the space cone with an angular velocity o. I repeat, the corresponding instantaneous angular velocity omega itself rotates around the space cone with an angular velocity o. In such a case, the corresponding alpha can be given as ohm cross omega. This concept may be a slight difficult for some people to understand. It requires a 3D visualization of the rigid body motion in order to understand these concepts very well. Okay, now I'm not going to much detail. I think we'll move on to the next topic. Okay, application of multiple reference frame in general motion. Okay, application of multiple reference frame in general motion. This concept is very important. Okay, application of multiple reference frame in general motion. As I told you, in many of the problems of a general plane motion, we have to have two reference axes. Okay, one is the primary one, primary reference axis is usually a fixed one, and then you have a moving reference, not axis, we call it frame, moving reference frame. Now in most of the problems in general plane motion, we have to use this multiple reference frame, because the motion is generated either within the system or it can be observed from a system that is itself rotating. This corresponding rigid body will be undergoing general plane motion with respect to this axis, which in turn will be rotating with respect to the fixed frame XYZ. Okay, now in this lecture we shall derive how the velocity and acceleration, how the velocity and acceleration of a point in a moving reference is related to the primary reference. The velocity and acceleration of a moving reference is related to the primary reference. Okay, now in this figure, if you see here, you have the primary reference frame, you have the moving reference frame here. Now the corresponding moving reference frame is undergoing a combined rotation and translation. So at an instant of time, at a particular instant of time, the angular velocity of the moving frame with respect to the capital XY, the primary frame, is given as omega. Is given as omega. Here omega represents the corresponding angular velocity of the moving frame with respect to the primary frame at an instant of time. Now suppose the body itself is undergoing some angular velocity, say I will say omega relative, okay, with respect to this corresponding moving axis XYZ. So at this corresponding rigid body at an instant of time is having an angular velocity omega relative with respect to this corresponding axis, moving axis, small XYZ. Or this in turn, I can represent this omega relative as omega dash with respect to the primary frame. So here omega is the corresponding angular velocity of the moving reference frame with respect to the primary reference frame, and omega dash, it is also the angular velocity of the rigid body, okay, of the rigid body with respect to the primary reference frame. And here omega relative is the angular velocity of the rigid body with respect to the moving reference frame. So I will be concentrating on this and this only, omega and omega bar. Okay. Now in a general situation, okay, in a general situation, two conditions can arise, and in the problems which we deal with, there are two conditions can arise. The first one is the secondary reference frame. The secondary reference frame is fixed with respect to the rigid body. The secondary or the moving reference frame is fixed with respect to the rigid body, or in other terms, omega is equal to omega bar. This indicates that, you see, this corresponding moving axis or the secondary axis is attached to this rigid body, or we call it is embedded. Okay, the corresponding body here, the rigid body, is embedded within this corresponding moving reference frame. So in that case, both omega and omega bar will be equal. Okay, both omega as well as omega bar will be equal. The second case is when the secondary reference frame is not fixed with respect to the rigid body. Here I am saying with respect to rigid body, not with respect to the initial frame. That is, omega is not equal to omega bar. That indicates that secondary frame is undergoing an angular velocity omega with respect to the xyz, and the entire rigid body is undergoing some angular velocity with respect to the moving frame here. Okay, or in other terms, it is undergoing an angular velocity omega bar with respect to the capital xyz. So both omega and omega bar are different, are not equal. Okay, so as such, this corresponding body, rigid body, is undergoing a general motion with respect to the moving reference frame small xyz, which in turn is undergoing a general motion with respect to the capital xyz frame. Okay, so in this lecture, we shall first look into this case when the secondary reference frame is fixed with respect to the rigid body. So the first case, secondary reference frame fixed to the rigid body, or omega equals omega bar. Now, we apply this corresponding concept in problems in which the rigid body is undergoing a general motion with respect to the primary frame. Okay, so you have a rigid body that is undergoing a general motion with respect to the fixed frame, the primary frame capital XYZ. So as such, what I do is that I take a moving reference frame. I take a moving reference frame, small x, small y, and small z. So the corresponding angular velocity of since this corresponding moving frame, I attach it to this rigid body, or I embed it within the rigid body. The moving frame will have an angular velocity omega with respect to the primary reference frame xyz at an instant of time, and the corresponding rigid body will also have the same value of angular velocity at an instant of time. So as such, this is what we call omega equals omega bar, where omega bar is actually the angular velocity of the rigid body with respect to capital XYZ, and omega is the angular velocity of the small xyz with respect to capital XYZ. There are 2 points here. The angular velocity of the moving frame XYZ with respect to small xyz with respect to the capital XYZ is equal to the angular velocity of the rigid body with respect to the capital XYZ. That is one concept. That, or in other words, okay, both the small xyz axis, small xyz frame is embedded in the rigid body. The second one, I can say that if I have a point P within the body, okay, within the rigid body, the position vector, say rho, I call it for the time being rho, the position vector of this point within the rigid body with respect to the moving reference frame small x, small y and small z, that is a constant. Or in other terms, the corresponding rho vector is a fixed vector. Okay, so the position, I'll write it here, the position vector rho of point P on the rigid body relative to the moving frame small xyz is constant, or that implies rho is a fixed vector. Rho is a fixed vector. So these 2 points you will have to keep in mind. Okay, the secondary reference frame is fixed to the rigid body. That is the concept here. Now let us derive the velocity and acceleration of this corresponding point P here. Okay, let us derive the corresponding velocity and acceleration of this point P here with respect to the capital, with respect to the fixed or the primary reference frame capital X, capital Y and capital Z. You see, this corresponding figure shows the primary reference frame capital X, capital Y and capital Z. Okay, and then you have the secondary reference frame small x, small y and small z. Okay, now small x, small y, small z, the moving reference frame is undergoing some general motion with respect to the capital XYZ. So at an instant of time, the corresponding angular velocity of the moving reference frame with respect to the fixed reference frame is omega at an instant of time. Okay, now here R is the corresponding position vector of the origin of the moving reference frame with respect to the fixed reference frame capital XYZ, and this corresponding point P is within the rigid body. Okay, this corresponding point P is in the rigid body, and the position vector of that point with respect to the moving reference frame is given by rho. So if you look at this closely, I can relate the position vectors. I can relate the position vector. Okay, so if R is the position vector of point P with respect to the fixed reference frame XYZ, means if I have, I'm just drawing it like this, if I have a vector like this is the vector R, the corresponding position vector of point P with respect to the capital XYZ, or the fixed reference frame, or the primary reference frame capital XYZ. So here I can write as R is equal to, why I took R is because I want to find, if I said dr by dt, I get velocity, d square r by dt square, I get acceleration. So R is equal to capital R plus rho. Here omega is at an instant of time. Okay. Now if I differentiate this, with respect to time, I would get dr by dt with respect to capital XYZ is equal to d capital R by dt with respect to capital XYZ plus d rho by dt with respect to capital XYZ. Now let us look into each of these terms. First we look into this term. Now dr by dt with respect to the capital XYZ, okay, is actually the velocity of the corresponding point P with respect to the fixed reference frame capital XYZ. So dr by dt is equal to Vxyz. The next we shall look into this term. Now d rho by dt with respect to the capital XYZ. Now we had already studied in the earlier lecture that if I have a primary reference frame XYZ and I have a moving reference frame small x, small y, small z, which is moving with an angular velocity omega. Okay. And if I have a vector here like this, we had studied that d, the derivative of the vector with respect to capital XYZ is equal to the derivative of the vector with respect to small xyz plus omega cross a. This we had studied and applied in the previous lecture. Now if here this corresponding vector becomes the rho vector, okay, and since this vector is fixed here, this value will become 0. So here d rho by dt with respect to the capital XYZ is equal to omega cross rho vector. Okay, so that is what I will write here. So d rho by dt with respect to capital XYZ is omega vector cross rho vector. Omega vector cross rho vector. And dr by dt with respect to the capital XYZ, I can write it as r dot. So applying all these in this equation, I would get Vxyz, the velocity of the point P with respect to the primary reference frame capital XYZ is equal to r dot plus omega vector cross rho vector. Okay, this is one relation. This is one relation which we'll have to study it out. The next, I would differentiate this once again. Differentiating dv xyz with respect to dt is equal to dr dot by dt plus d by dt of omega cross rho, that is with respect to the fixed prime capital XYZ. Okay, now analyzing each of these terms, dv xyz by dt with respect to the whole xyz with respect to the primary reference will be equal to the acceleration vector a, okay, with respect to the primary or fixed reference capital XYZ. Okay, all are vectors. Okay, I'm not writing it specifically, everything is a vector. I hope you understand all this. All of these are vectors. Now d by dt omega vector cross rho vector xyz is equal to omega cross d rho by dt. I am applying the corresponding derivative by parts. So xyz plus d omega by dt capital XYZ cross rho vector. All of these are vectors. Okay, we have already studied earlier what is d rho by dt with respect to capital XYZ. So this I can write it as omega vector cross rho vector. Okay, this we had just derived earlier, plus d omega vector by dt with respect to capital XYZ. I will indicate it as omega dot cross rho vector. Okay, so and finally the last term, it is dr dot by dt with respect to capital XYZ. I will write it as r double dot. So applying all these three in this equation, I would get acceleration of the point P is equal to r double dot plus omega dot cross rho plus omega cross rho. All of these are vectors. Okay, this equation you will have to remember it. Now if you look at this equation closely, if you look at the two equations, one was with respect to velocity. I'll write it here again. Vxyz vector is equal to r dot vector plus omega vector cross rho. So these two equations here are for a general motion when omega equal to omega bar. Both of these are instantaneous. We have already studied an equation similar like this. In case of rotation, rigid body undergoing rotation alone with respect to an axis. Okay, we had studied that the velocity vector at any point of the rigid body is given as omega vector cross r vector. Similarly, the acceleration vector at that time was given as omega dot vector or alpha vector cross r vector plus omega vector cross r vector. So this is in the case of rotation. Okay, so the only extra term that has come here is r dot vector and r double dot vector, and here instead of r vector it is the rho vector. So you can have, just to study the equations easily, you can just relate this. Okay, you can just relate it. These two equations are only for a rigid body that is undergoing pure rotation with respect to an axis. Okay, with respect to an axis, and this is the case of a general motion where here the omega is with respect to one axis, one fixed axis. However, this corresponding in the general motion, this omega itself is not fixed, but it is instantaneous at an instant of time. Okay, you have an instantaneous angular velocity omega. That is the only difference. So these two equations you will have to study it for solving the problems. Now these two equations as such I have given to you as per the corresponding representation in the Shames textbook, but in most other textbooks the above equation of velocity and acceleration, it is this corresponding equation and this equation, the equation of velocity and acceleration, are given in terms of a relative motion. Okay, are given in terms of a relative motion. Okay, so as such I shall show you that figure also here. The same concept is given in terms of a relative motion, in which instead of rho we have rb with respect to a. Okay, so here what we have is that the moving reference frame xyz is attached to a point A within the rigid body. Okay, and we are the vector AB RB with respect to A. Instead of rho, it is given as RB with respect to A. Okay, so and this corresponding vector instead of R, it is given as RA. Okay, and the corresponding vector of point B, it is given as RB. It is given as RB. The above equation of velocity I can rewrite this in terms of the relative motion concept as, I will write both the equations here. V capital XYZ is equal to R dot plus omega vector cross rho vector. So what in relative motion concept, VB vector is equal to VA vector plus omega vector cross RB with respect to A. So this is the same equation in terms of relative motion in most textbooks other than Shames, whether it may be Craig or whether it may be Hibbler or Beer or any other textbook. This corresponding format is given. Okay, and acceleration, as I'll write it here, AXYZ is equal to R double dot plus omega dot vector cross rho vector plus omega vector cross omega vector cross rho vector. So this equation will be given as AB is equal to A vector plus alpha cross R B with respect to A plus omega vector cross R B with respect to A vector. Okay, so it's actually one of the same thing, it's just another way of representing it, that's all. Okay, So whether you are using the concept of a multiple frame of reference or whether it is a relative velocity concept, both are actually one same thing. In Shame's textbook, this corresponding format of the equation is given. Okay, whereas in other textbooks, whether it is Hibbeler or Merriam-Craig, etc., this corresponding format of that equation is given. Both are the one and the same thing. So just don't get confused in seeing the different textbooks. Both the concepts are the same. Now one more thing I would like to tell you is that in Craig's textbook, okay, instead of using the concept of omega equals omega dash, usually in most textbook the angular velocity of the moving reference frame with respect to the fixed reference frame is given as O, okay, and this is given as omega. Okay, this is the usual format that is given in other textbooks, whether it is Craig or Hibbeler or all other textbooks. Okay, instead of omega they had used O, and omega bar, okay, they had used omega. Now in Craig's textbook there is one additional point which I would like to discuss, is that in Craig's textbook, instead of giving omega is equal to omega bar, this indicates that the angular velocity of the moving reference frame with respect to the fixed reference frame capital XYZ and the angular velocity of the rigid body with respect to the fixed reference frame capital XYZ are equal. Instead of this concept, what Craig has done is that explained the same thing in terms of a translating reference frame. In which omega, or what he says at ohm, is equal to 0, and the rigid body, so you have here in Craig's textbook, you have the capital XYZ and the small xyz is only translating, it is not undergoing rotation. Okay, and the body here is having an angular velocity omega with respect to the capital XYZ. So this small xyz is only translating and not rotating. That is his interpretation. What we had said is that this corresponding moving reference frame is embedded within this, and both are rotating as one unit. That is what we had derived. Okay, the moving reference frame XYZ is embedded within the rigid body, and both are moving with an angular velocity omega equal to omega bar. Instead of that, Craig he has considered the moving reference frame that is only translating. So whatever you have here I vector, that is the same here I also. Both the unit vectors around these two will be same. Okay, that is the difference, but the concept is the same. Now one thing you have to be very careful is choosing the appropriate reference frame. Because in most of the questions the reference frame may not always be given, may not always be specified in the problem. Okay, especially in the case of planar problems. As I told you, most textbooks like Craig textbook, Hibbeler's book or Beer's textbook, these textbooks had discussed general plane motion and three-dimensional motion separately. But in Shame's textbook, both are taught together. Okay, so here also I had taught both of them as one single concept to save time. Okay, so the thing is that whenever a question of a general plane motion is given to you, there won't be the frame of reference. Okay, the frame of reference will not usually be shown in the figure. In that case, proper judgment is required in choosing the appropriate frame of reference. To get an better understanding, first I will show you a few practical examples. Here I had shown two examples, okay, of a general plane motion. The entire motion is restricted to a single plane here. Now on the left hand side you can see a rod AB, okay, a rod AB that is undergoing a rotation with respect to point A with an angular velocity of omega. So here I can choose my fixed axis, okay, xyz. AB is undergoing pure rotation, but BC will be undergoing a general motion, and this corresponding C is restricted to move in a single plane here. So what I do, the secondary frame of reference, I will attach this corresponding point here, x, y and z here, and that keeps on rotating. I am embedding BC. I am embedding BC within the moving reference frame. Okay, so that here the corresponding angular velocity of this will be equal to the angular velocity of this rigid body omega bar, in such a way that it is embedded. The rod BC is embedded within the moving reference frame. Okay, so this may be slightly difficult for some people to understand. Okay, now on the right hand side you can see an inclined rod, okay, that is sliding down the plane. Okay, so you have this corresponding B here, this sliding down the plane with a velocity say VB. So what I do in order to analyze this motion, okay, I shall fix my primary reference somewhere on the ground, okay, x, y and z, and I shall fix my moving reference frame with respect to point B, say maybe x, y, z, and this moving reference frame will keep on rotating as per the corresponding general motion of this rod AB. So this corresponding AB is embedded within the moving reference frame small x, small y, small z, and it will rotate. This moving reference frame will rotate as per the rotation of this BA. Okay, this is the concept we shall be employing while solving problems. Now this case is a case of a general plane motion. Next we shall show an example of a three-dimensional motion. So on the left hand side you can see a robotic arm. That robotic arm has a 0g, a length 0g that may be extended. Okay, 0g may be extended since there are consists of two pipes. One pipe can slide under the other. Already in the question it is given the primary reference frame XYZ is attached to this point O. Now this is fixed. This corresponding primary reference frame is fixed. Okay. Now you have the moving reference frame small x, small y, small z that is attached to this point G. Okay, and the masses M. The masses M, and actually this arm is carrying a dumbbell. Okay, so the masses M, the position vector of the masses M, whether it is this mass or this mass, is fixed with respect to the XYZ. Now remember one thing, this XYZ frame, okay, this XYZ frame is actually undergoing a rotation with respect to an angular velocity omega p. But not only this, but also this O. Okay, you see XYZ is fixed. Okay, this will not rotate. So this O as such, the corresponding angular velocity of the rotating frame XYZ, okay, omega will be equal to ohm plus omega p, since both of these will pass to the same point O. Okay, this vector will be like this, ohm vector, and this vector will be like this, okay, omega p vector. Since these two vectors, okay, pass to the same point, I can say that the angular velocity the angular velocity of small xyz with respect to capital xyz. With respect to capital xyz, omega is equal to O vector plus omega p vector at an instant of time. At an instant of time. Always remember this xyz is fixed. Okay, even though the robotic arm is rotating, this xyz will be fixed. We assume this xyz to be fixed. Okay, and it will not rotate. This moving reference frame small xyz is rotating with the combined action of omega p plus O. Okay, on the right hand side I have given you another example. It's much more a simpler example. Here you have a collar A that is moving upwards. Okay, and you have another collar B that is attached to this rod, and as the corresponding A moves upward, the rod AB will undergo general motion. Okay, so what I do, I fix my fixed reference frame capital XYZ here. Okay, and I fix my moving reference frame small xyz in such a way that this corresponding xyz will undergo rotation as per the rotation of AB. Okay, as AB rotates, since the xyz AB is embedded within xyz, the moving reference frame small xyz will rotate with the rotation of AB. With the rotation of AB. That is how you should view these problems. Okay, so that we don't get confused. Okay, that is how you should view these problems for better understanding. Okay, with better understanding. So with this I would closing this corresponding lecture. So what I had discussed till now is that in a general motion we had studied the concepts of instantaneous axis, instantaneous center in case of a plane motion, and instantaneous axis in case of a three-dimensional motion. Now in this corresponding concept we had studied the concept of the space cone and body cone. Space cone and body cone. Then I told you we had used multiple reference frame for studying the general motion, in which I said there was two cases. One in which the secondary frame, right, instead of this, small xyz is embedded in rigid body, or omega is equal to omega bar, and the other small xyz is not embedded within the rigid body. Omega is not equal to omega bar. Okay, now in this lecture we had discussed only this part. Okay, in this lecture we had discussed the corresponding xyz moving reference frame is secondary reference frame is embedded within the rigid body, so that both will undergo instantaneous angular velocity omega equals omega bar. So in this, what is the corresponding velocity and acceleration of a point P within the rigid body with respect to the fixed reference frame? So the velocity with respect to the fixed reference frame V capital XYZ we had studied is equal to R dot plus omega dot cross rho vector, and the acceleration vector A x y z with I am telling velocity and acceleration with respect to the fixed frame capital XYZ is equal to R double dot plus omega dot or alpha cross rho plus omega vector cross omega vector cross rho vector. So these two equations also we have studied, and the corresponding equation in terms of relative motion. Okay, and then I had shown you some figures in which this corresponding equation can be applied, how you should be able to view such questions and how you can apply these questions. Okay, in the next class we shall be solving some problems related to this topic. Okay, after which we will go on to the second case. Okay, second case in which the XYZ is not embedded within the rigid body. So in the next class we will deal with problems of this, after which we shall go to the next topic. Okay, thank you all.